Before we start, I'd just like to say a brilliant thanks to Heather for being our partner for so long. She's leaving, this is our last meeting, so she's been an absolute gem for me in terms of keeping me right through all the meetings. I will be really sorry to see her go, so I'm really grateful for you. Thank you, Heather, for her time with us. Thank you. So all visitors were signed into the visitor book, so I hope you all have at the entrance to Kiln Craigs, and this includes council staff from our buildings. There's no planned fire evacuation drill or alarm test today. If the fire alarm is activated during your visit, you must exit the building immediately. Council officers will direct you to the nearest fire exit and will escort visitors to the building fire assembly point beside the silver man at the top of the Parliament Walk. Kiln Craigs staff should report to the floor's assembly point. You should remain at your assembly point until directed to reoccupy the building and only re-enter once the fire marshal has advised us safe to do so. Please do not attempt to leave the site by vehicle unless cleared to do so by the fire marshal to ensure access routes are kept clear for emergency vehicles. Please note this is a public meeting and that members of the public may be in attendance. The meeting will be recorded by the clerk and published online for public viewing. The taking of photographs, including screenshots, audio or video recordings are not permitted during meetings unless it takes express permission of the convener. The members attending virtually activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video, and can all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking. Please do not injure any items unless invited to do so. If any members are attending virtually wish to speak at any point, please indicate by clicking on the raise your hand button, and members in the chamber should also raise their hands and I'll bring in at the appropriate time. If members have not been able to access all the papers for the meeting, please indicate. And today we'll hear each of the items set out in the agenda and invite officers to present the paper, and members will then have the opportunity to ask questions before we proceed to debate the decision. I'll now ask the clerk to take the roll call to confirm attendance at the meeting and ask members to indicate if they wish to declare an interest.
Thank you. We have apologies today from Councillor Fairley, Councillor Benny, Councillor Keogh, and we've got Councillor Law substituted for Councillor Fairley. And we've apologies from Kenneth Barber for Scottish Fire and Rescue.
Okay, thank you. If we can move on to the minutes of the last meeting, can everybody go through those with me in terms of page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. Is everybody happy with the minutes?
Yep.
Okay, is that fine? Excellent. So we're now going to move on to item 4, and we will be beginning with our 15-minute presentation by DCI David Whitaker.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I just want to take some time this morning to introduce the report my role is and tell my teams across both our assistant and manager and what the roles are. So I'm the DCI for CID for Forth and tell you what, I have 3 main teams that work across my manager. Just a quick oversight of what those teams do, so you can ask if any questions in the building. The first of those teams, and the biggest, is the active CID, and that's your main detective roles. They take on the serious violent crime across Park Manager. That's primarily robberies, serious assaults, new intent forces with the community teams and multimedia and response teams. Although they have oversight of serious violent crime in Park Manager, they don't take it all on. A lot of that's investigated by the community teams that work in Park Manager and the response teams. They'll take on more complex investigations, they're more time consuming, they're more focused. So the CID can have responsibility for that violent element of criminality across Park Manager, and we take it on a day-to-day basis. We also have responsibility for investigating drug thefts. That's one of their primary roles as well. That goes hand in hand with the additional work we do to prevent drug thefts across Park Manager, and their role in that investigation of drug thefts is to identify the source of the drugs that led to that to stand for their thefts in the future. So the active CID are based in Stirling, in Cover Park Manager, they're based across Stirling and Falkirk. The team operate through the possible division in that basis. The second of the teams I have is a proactive team. The proactive team are focused on organised crime across Forth Valley and Lanarkshire. That includes drug dealing, human trafficking investigations and prostitution. We also manage serious crime prevention orders, which are quite a new piece of legislation. They are facing individuals being convicted of serious criminality to try and manage them once come out of prison, etc. As I say, their main role involves the disruption of drug dealing, which is the main impact of organised crime we see across the division in Lanarkshire. So they do that hand in hand again with the community teams and response teams. So the community teams will execute warrants and carry out stop searches based on information they receive from members of the public. The proactive team will tend to take on investigations that are more complex. So the information received from the public will often provide information about who's involved. If that's quite straightforward to move on, the community teams will progress that. Investigation, my proactive team will take that on. That may involve an investigation over 3 or 4 weeks to months, even up to a year. As I say, of the community teams here in Lanarkshire, also the national teams that think about drug dealing across the country, because they know about use across different parts of the prison force. They've worked a lot in Lanarkshire over the last year, they've had a lot of good results, working closely with the community teams and the national teams. So that's the proactive response, that's the whole agreement. The last of my teams is a priority crime. Priority crime is also a divisional resource. The main focus is acquisitive crime. So they look at high value house break-ins and high value thefts that occur across the division in Lanarkshire. House breaking itself has changed progressively over the last 5 to 10 years. We used to see local people involved in thefts and house break-ins. It's now much more organised type criminality. So teams move across a local area, across Stirling, Falkirk, and national commit crime. But we're seeing more and more national teams moving from the east and west of the country to commit crimes across the force. The benefit the priority crime team has is they can focus on those individuals that commit crime across our area, as well as the response officers and community teams may not have that additional time to focus on that and travel with the local area, because we want them in the local area. The priority crime team can travel to Glasgow and wider field to get suspects, the evidence, etc. They're at a prison today, picking someone up for investigation and experience partner in Lanarkshire, the best one used today as well. So that team has the capacity to investigate the more complex thefts that we see across the area and build them into that. We've also given them an additional capacity recently, looking at fraud and cybercrime. One of the areas we've seen crime increase in is online criminality. Started with the pandemic, we saw a lot of criminality move online, in particular fraud. We now have a dedicated review on a daily basis of frauds that are committed across Lanarkshire and the local area, identifying those most at risk and how we can disrupt those engagement in criminality. Again, frauds are committed by people out with our division, targeting people across the country. So we're linking with other folks across the UK and partners in property prevention, fraud and banks and financial institutions. They work hand in hand with the prevention team at Forth Valley. We do the education part of financial institutions and more vulnerable elements of the community can see something targeted by fraudsters. So the PCT or priority crime team really focus on acquisitive crime, as I say, and frauds as well. So the 3 key teams that I have are a disposal of work throughout the division in the Lanarkshire, and that's the roles and remits. They're a committee team, the vast majority of them live in Lanarkshire Valley, so they're really passionate about making sure that it's a safe place to live and work. We're successful, we've got really good detection rates across serious violent crime. So yeah, I'm proud of them, they do a good job, they're well trained, and I hope they're delivering for you. You see that on a day-to-day basis. But I'm happy to take any questions around my teams and you work with.
Thanks very much for that. I was really interested in it. It was an excellent report. I'll open up to questions in a second, but I'll just sort of kick off to say, in terms of the great work I can see that you've been doing in terms of the people who are doing drugs. Have you seen any instances of money laundering or anything like that related to it?
The movement of cash through proactive teams over there seen as more cash in houses and more cash seizures. That's the money laundering aspect tends to be dealt with by financial investigation teams. So they're linked in with our proactive teams, but that is an area they do focus on.
Thank you. And just any questions? Councillor Eld?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Chair, before I start, I'd like to also congratulate, sorry,
Can we turn up the volume of that?
Good. If you perhaps just pause for a moment, Councillor Earl, we've got issues with the volume. We're just going to turn you up so we can hear you. Apologies.
that's never been said before. Okay.
No,
Now try again.
if you want to try speaking, Councillor Earl, we'll just give you a
Yeah,
test.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Brilliant. That's excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. As has been said, as has been previously said, I'd like to congratulate Chief Inspector Marsh on the work that she's done, and hope that I wish her all the best for her retirement. On page 7 of the report, which is page 21 of the paper, it mentions the bike register database for officers. Can you tell me if that has been continued into all schools?
Councillor Eld, we're not at the report itself yet, we're just on the presentation at the moment.
Okay.
We'll come on to that in a second.
I was just going to ask,
I'm having difficulty hearing it the other side.
a few members of the public that came up to me and talked about kind of the blatant, kind of obvious drug, kind of, as you were coming along, basically in the middle of the street, just kind of, you're swapping the drugs there. And it's just kind of how can the members of the public help you guys in order to be able to kind of get as much kind of intelligence of that? I mean, I've been saying you have like the date and time as to when that's happened, so you guys can then have that information and see if it's a kind of regular occurrence. Is that kind of basically the kind of details that you're looking from people?
Yeah, it seems that I've seen it, if I've phoning it in, when there's no playing it there, if they know the individuals, if I've seen cars and registrations and get as much information as possible. Alex has got the picture around about that. In terms of drug dealing, one of the complications we have is we're trying to develop intelligence packages to execute warrants. We need a lot of information to get to that stage. So the more people phone in, the quicker we can build that picture and we can actually know the individuals involved in that. So yeah, just as much information as we can provide. There's a variety of ways to provide that information as well. So a lot of people maybe don't want to give their names and addresses or assessment of providing information, so it can be done anonymously. Through Crime Stoppers or through 111. If we're happy to speak to police, also when we're happy to speak to people that can and are willing to talk to us about it, there's a variety of options to do that too.
So I know people that have a lot of kind of the ring bell footage and whatnot, but I've seen somebody who was kind of worried about that because they've been told that they could give it anonymously, but then they kind of got someone's kind of maybe to take them to court, but then they were told there was a form that they could fill out that would stop that kind of happening. So I think sometimes people just kind of maybe need that reassurance that they're not going to be kind of pulled up to court if they're given that kind of evidence.
It's a tricky one to with all in a case-by-case basis, depending on what's happened in that scenario. So it'd be hard to speak about that individual incident. If you're going to start providing footage, if there's evidence criminality on that footage, then you might be in a position where we're not. We have an option but to bring that person into investigation. We try to do that as little as possible if we don't want to be involved in the inquiry. But if, for example, someone's captured on a slope on CCTV, delivered is we will need to take that cruise and try and keep them away from the inquiry and want to work, but often we don't have that option for more people being sick that comes out the office and they want to bring to court. We can lay that report, but they don't want to engage for the two officer to say they need to bring to court in that case.
Any other questions?
Hi, thanks very much. You mentioned about the online stuff and fraud and all that kind of stuff. Have you ever been able to get any kind of results with that? Because I know a lot of that, it might not even be here, it might not even be in the same country, it might be below, right? I mean, it seems like a lot of focus on the prevention, which obviously, relevant to one place, that's right, but have you ever had any success with that side of things of getting to the bottom of it?
They have a lot of success with that. Whilst cybercrime is quite complicated, it's quite a forensic investigation. If you have key lines of movement of money, the use of IT equipment, etc., which you can do investigations around the world. One of the main things with fraud is the seizure of cash. So when somebody's been defrauded, one of the first steps it takes to identify how that money is flowed to the financial institutions to seize that and get that back for the victims of crime. Yes, it's also system. Thanks.
Thank you. Coming back down from the airwaves to the street level, how big a prostitution have you? How big a nuisance, how big a problem is prostitution from A, a nuisance point of view, and B, it being an obvious outlet for organised crime?
So prostitution in modern days to move away from people on the street, which you might think about as being prostitution street level prostitution, that's very vigilante these days. In terms of sex crime, we see most of that being online. As far as nuisance, we get a lot of information from members of the public to say that those prostitution going on nearly in the street on nearby. The vast majority of what kind of prostitution will be from proactive research and seeing sites where sex workers are. We will visit them to basically ensure they're safe and well, to make sure they're not being forced into that area of work, and if there is criminality, we'll deal with that as necessary.
Just to ask again, how involved is organised crime in local prostitution in the United States, and are you, from Brian's question, quite successful in getting to the root of that?
So the majority of prostitution work that we've seen has been not directly linked to organised crime. We've seen a lot of people that choose to be involved in sex work because of their own life choice, essentially. Where we see organised crime groups involved in sex crime, it tends to be linked to human trafficking. And that's part of our proactive teaching as well. And thankfully, we'll see much more.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll move on to this report now, but first of all, Kenny sort of preempted because there's terrible sounds in here, but I'd really like to thank Audrey Marsh for her time working with us. You've been absolutely wonderful when you come to these committees and often dealing with some really, really difficult questions really, really well. We'll be really sorry to see you go and wish you all the best in the future. So I will move over to the report.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, good morning members. I'm here with the Commander of Forth Valley. Again, delighted to be here to with Audrey present the teaching performance report for the second part of financial year 22-23, which I will ask Audrey to go through in a bit more detail shortly. The report, as you will see, provides a number of helpful localised case studies, which I know members welcome, and Audrey will be able to provide an additional context around them. I think it's important that David touched on the working ethics of his team. Every day I see right across the division, right across the local authority, excellent work from officers and staff going above and beyond each day to ensure that they, all with partners, all with communities themselves, have the very best possible service that they can. And as I speak about that isn't a particularly challenging operating environment. For the report pertains to the last financial year, it's probably important for me to highlight again the observations I made at the committee or the full council when I presented the completion plan earlier this year, that there is undoubtedly growing pressure evident within the system, which is impacting on our capability and our capacity, and that's linked inextricably to resource and to the financial pressures that we face as an organisation and we face as a public service. In general, and I see that as in turn playing into an organisational and divisional performance, and that's likely to be evident as I come back to scrutiny in the months ahead. Before I turn to the report specifically, I thought I'd provide a bit of national update before handing over the audit, if that was welcome by members. As you will know, our new Chief Constable, Joe Farrell, took up her post earlier this month. And I was delighted to welcome her here into Valley just last week, where she took some time, just in her second week in role, to spend time with our frontline officers and our detective officers, outlining her priorities, but actually hearing first hand from our staff just about the challenges and challenges we face in the good work that we deliver on a daily basis. I know she's reached out in writing already to members just outlining her focus on her operational priorities. And I thought I'd just quickly rehearse them here as they relate to threat, risk and harm, prevention, problem solving and proactivity. And I think that's specifically really important for the way in which we're policing Forth Valley and the way in which we're policing quite manager. We have, as you know, a real focus on community policing, and it's really encouraging to see that's a particular priority for our new Chief Constable as it plays absolutely to the way in which we deliver our business, and importantly a real focus on our officer and staff well-being. Organisationally, we continue to work to address the total shortfall in our budget position, and we have, fully since we last spoke, we've now confirmed a number of changes to our recruitment policy. So we've got a freeze on police staff recruitment at the moment, and we've also taken the decision to postpone the plan and take of probationers that are due to come into the organisation in January early next year. Clearly that will continue to impact on resourcing, and we've already seen organisationally our establishment drop from around about 17,234 to near 16,600 earlier this year, and that's likely to continue. We're likely to continue to see pressure on that overall headcount as a result of the decisions that we've had to make around recruitment. We recently submitted an update to the pre-budget scrutiny process into the Justice Committee, and that highlighted the impact of a flat cash settlement into policing, should that be forthcoming in the next budget, and that would likely see us required to reduce our headcount by a further 600 officers and 200 police staff in the coming year, should that financial settlement be a flat cash, and that's what projected 2% pay rise, so it is an indicative pay rise of pay over 2%, we'd likely see us reduce that headcount by 600 and 200 police staff. And if that was to sustain towards 27-28, that would likely require us to lose in the region of 2,000 officers and staff over that period. So we continue to make representations at the Scottish Government around about the need to fund policing, but we, as you would expect, are planning a number of budget scenarios just in relation to what our operational capacity to deliver would be if the budget settlement was as described in terms of flat cash. And that's going to continue to work at all levels of organisations, so it's my focus day really to ensure that we're maximising the resources, the effectiveness and the availability of that resource, to ensure that the demand that comes into the division each day is dealt with and addressed in the best way possibly can, and really that back to the authorities that spoke about earlier in terms of threat, risk and harm. And it's incumbent that we work, we do work well, we work really obviously with our partners, with colleagues and other members of services to make sure that the demand that's coming in is dealt with appropriately and as effectively as we can. And then, as you've touched on, as you alluded to, I just wanted to mark us from a policing perspective, as we've highlighted, Audit's last appearance of scrutiny prior to retirement in a couple of weeks' time. And she has really effectively really well served the community of Clarkman and Sheffield. 4 years ago, I was speaking out this morning, so I really a good innings in terms of what the role of the commander and from a teaching perspective, just to mark that the fantastic job that she's done, and just to I suppose reassure that as soon as we have not the implement, but as soon as we have a replacement identified, that recruitment process is ongoing, and as soon as we have a replacement, it's hard as an actor as a complete to follow a lot of the members and students that do that. I'll hold it to the fourth, that's right.
Good morning, everyone. So the police performance report today covers policing activity drawn on the local policing plan from October 22 until March 2023. Also outlines the crime and incident stats for the year from April 22 to March 2023, which you will be somewhat familiar with from the pre-season report. So it includes a focus on inquisitive and serious crime, including serious assaults, thefts of motor vehicles and housebreaking. As we have a colleague here today from CID and PPU, and as there's been a lot of proactive work undertaken on those crimes, and we've had some really good protections by the local officers and by CID officers in relation to these crimes. Most of these crimes are perpetrated by local residents as opposed to cross-border criminals. So as David alluded to, we've disrupted a lot of drug dealers to remove their supply, and that type of serious organised crime is frequently linked to robberies that are associated with drug deaths. So we're very proactive in that regard, and as already been commented on, community intelligence is really important to us in any guise at all. Councillor Rose mentioned there how can we get in touch with us, just speak to the CP, speak to the SPOs, just contact us in any way, shape or form if you've got something to tell us. So that can play it's a really important part in helping detect these criminals. So there's still got two school-based officers, and they continue to work with community policing teams in high schools, providing inputs and advice around key issues such as hate crime, road safety, antisocial behaviour, and over recent times drink spiking and online sexual exploitation, to educate the young people around the effects of these types of crimes on the victim and also communities. The report also outlines our continued commitment to the Strive Partnership, which I'm particularly passionate about, as are others in the room. So that partnership to continue with prevention and early interventions. There's some case studies in the report, and it's really essential that we try to prevent harm before it happens to ensure community well-being. So we're really leading the way to an extent with this in our local authority area, and other local authorities are looking to us, to me now, getting contact from a lot of people wanting to know about Strive, wanting to understand the governance process, how it works in practice and the strategic oversight, because they want to set up similar pilots in their own areas. So from my perspective, Strive really needs to maintain that ongoing commitment, and when I say that, I mean by all relevant partners, and most importantly from a police perspective, and also, in my view, from a community needs perspective, we need interventions for adults with complex wellbeing issues and for those adults that are finding themselves frequently in mental health crisis. So this preventative approach, with harm reduction at the core of everything that we do and build our services around, is also, as the plan alluded to, very much supported by our new Chief Constable, Joe Farrell. So the report also touches on how we're streamlining some processes for frontline response and community officers. enabling them to transfer appropriate demand to most capable partner agencies. And in the report, we'll talk about how we can now contact ambulance directly from the scene instead of via the control room, kind of cutting out the middle person and effectively sort the correct medical response is ascertained very quickly. But we're also assessing risk better now together with our partners in the hospital environment, which is so important, by using agreed joint risk assessments at the hospital when police are caused to take someone there to if they're in a mental health crisis. And then when appropriate or safe to do so, the police can then step away from that environment, leave the individual in the care of the NHS, and then be visible in their own communities and available for calls for help and their own residents. So by way of some context around that particular type of demand around mental health, during the 6 months of this report, the officers in Clackmannanshire attended 396 concern for person calls, which essentially are non-criminal welfare calls about people in distress in the community. So the DCI has covered the serious crime, and the last time when we covered these stats, we did touch on robberies, etc. So in a positive note, the year to September figures that I have so far show robberies having a 60% decrease, and also the rate crimes are also down 62%. That's our management information in the year to September. So both standing out quite significantly. Not huge numbers, but those are the percentages. So that stats, as I say, on the report are familiar to you from the last report, but happy to discuss any other further queries around these. And myself and Commander are happy to take any questions if that's an order of the Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Earl, will you want to come back in? I know you.
Brilliant, thanks. I just want to say as well, okay, just put on the record my bad side as well, with the work you've been managing, particularly through the Alliance over the last 4 years. I think it's really important sometimes to have someone in your position who comes with an open mind and is able to look at particularly preventative work, and I certainly enjoyed my time working with you, and I think we've actually pushed forward and achieved quite a lot, and fingers crossed that your successor follows in your footsteps there. I'll put that down. There is a question I wanted to ask, and it's about the preventative work, because we've very much shifted into that kind of area over the last 4 years. And we look at the effort that we've put into Strive and everything that's going on. Are we starting to see the expected kind of results? I'm thinking from your service particularly, because you are putting a lot of effort into the programme. Are you starting to see the results that you would have hoped to have seen from Strive? And if not, is there other things that we could maybe do to take it around a bit?
Yeah, we are definitely seeing, and there have been for quite a while now, seeing that a lot of the people, I mean, we've probably, our numbers of service users that have gone through Strive are probably around about 500 now, so it's not a small amount. And we very rarely see the same people coming back on our radar because we've got that multi-agency intervention. So we are seeing that. And also we've now got the domestic abuse prevention programme, which yes is penny numbers because it's about trying to prevent those people on the periphery of domestic abuse who are not yet in the criminal justice system from going into that. So that's a bit of a slow burner. But having said that, the last 2 violence against women and girls strategy meetings have taken management information to those meetings and reported that our incidents and our crimes for domestic abuse are consistently down. So, obviously prior to the DAP, we've been feeding those through Strive in any case if they need a multi-agency intervention. So, yeah, all of these things are really worthwhile because we are seeing the benefits of them. What we just do need to watch is, I know everyone is busy that's round the table in Strive, but we have to have that continued commitment, and we have to also be flexible and realise that we need to design our services around the community needs. Never more so around, as I just alluded to, the mental health and adults in the community who need a multi-agency intervention, and we need to create those services that meet that need rather than just put the plaster on it with what we already have.
Any other questions? Mr. Coyne?
Thank you, Chair. It's really a comment that is made by the Chief Superintendent that the fees on recruitment, etc. I imagine that there is some kind of link between police presence and crimes of some minor to nature. It must have an impact, I guess. So therefore, there's going to be an impact down the line, unless something improves dramatically, on the local terms. Is there some initiative that you can work through the community councils or whatever in the communities to some extent take over some of that monitoring role, a formal thing, and a formal engagement of some sort, to strengthen their ability to either report it or put actions in place to calm down on it?
Thank you for the question. So with less resource, our ability to impact will undoubtedly be to the detriment. However, we will continue to prioritise it to the highest time, highest rate. Where we begin to see that put through is our ability to be proactive, our ability to deal with what we might class as lesser priority business, and we haven't taken decisions around about that, how we manage the service. In terms of how we can fill that gap, then absolutely. Also, things that we can encourage are, we see and we've seen in the previous reports, the work around about schools and communities around about screening enforcement, screening education, screening awareness. So that's one of the areas that is a product for the communities, it's a product for us. But if people can educate and do some of that, then we absolutely must, and other people can play a role in that. We can watch effectively. We watch that doesn't rely on community police officers coming every week, so they build that resilience and that kind of that collective safeguarding, if you will, then that instills prevention in itself. So if we're effective neighbourhood watch schemes, then again that's something community councils and community councillors and councillors can promote. And then when I spoke about the policing plan, and David touched on it there, the impact of fraud. That they can be, we do successfully detect that, but I think as you alluded to in the point, so that they are difficult because some of them are some of the instances of crime occur abroad. So if we can do more education, around about fraud, around about cyber, around about extortion, then absolutely that should reduce demand. The education partners can absolutely strengthen that space. So anything we can do collectively to fill that gap, then I'm actually up for doing that.
Would you then be able to perhaps have officers there sometime to engage with the community? I know that they do visit the community council meetings and things like that, but actually to talk to them rather than just reporting what's going on in the neighbourhood, which in some areas is nothing at all, in other areas is significant. To actually encourage the community councils to set up neighbourhood watch organisations where they don't currently exist. To try and push the community council rather than just be there to answer questions.
Yeah, I mean, even the simple attendance of community councils is often a challenge, and we'll see that play through just in terms of what's the availability. Where I think that needs to be driven by the community themselves, because for them to work, you need people who are really engaged with what it. For us to come and push it, then has always been police led and police driven, so I'm happy, and I know there's a fine line there. I would be more than happy to have people come and provide the advice and support around about it. But where we are seen to bring everybody at the table, often it requires us to remain at the table, you know, so that maybe okay, we could pick up with Audrey and analysis on how we could achieve that. But for me, the most effective means will be by really resolving the community groups that don't necessarily need too much police input and too much police, you know, so that so we'll continue to be there when required, but we become a bit self-sustaining, so it doesn't increase demand.
I get that, so what I was thinking was just because the number of police available to visit is going to go down, if we take the initiative now and down the carrot in front of the community councils, to encourage them, not to try and lead and operate the process itself, it's just catalyze it, get it started, while you still got numbers on the ground that can do that.
Yeah, we're happy with that. Did you want to say another?
Yeah, I was just wanting to say, I used to go to, I haven't been invited to one for a while, but I used to, any time there was the one right across the local authority for the community councils, I've attended all of those that I've been invited to. So, you know, if those are invited to keep coming, we can certainly, you know, try and drive things forward. That's not a problem. And with we've also spoken to, I mean, in terms of certainly with Alloy Town Centre, you know, we've spoken to them about various things, you know, around the nighttime economy and what we might do differently, but we've got to have the buy-in from the businesses, you know, and there isn't always that. Not that there's really a great need to weekend policing plan, etc. in the town centre, but yeah, I'll speak to the community policing team about that anyway, to just try and drive things forward. But what I was going to say is about antisocial behaviour in particular. Because we you know, use for the challenges that the commanders already outlined, so you know, we are quite often putting our teams out, and they are a hybrid of response officers and CPT. So what we really do need to look at now, and we're starting to do that, working with Lorraine, Sandra and Stuart around antisocial behaviour, is look to our third sector partners as well, because what we, you know, the officers are dealing with the young people at weekends. What they're saying is that they've got nothing to do. So yes, there is a small minority of people who want to go out and close border, but you know, we need to look at diverting them away from criminality. So we've been in touch with third sector partners. What we really need to do is ask the kids, the young people, what is going to divert them away, and maybe we again need to redesign what is available for them. I mean, police have funded lots of youth clubs, but we need them to maybe go into the schools and speak to the kids and say what is going to take you away from, you know, vandalising things and causing antisocial behaviour, to do something more meaningful that maybe can lead to employment or whatever. So we're having those conversations with CTSI, and you know, we used to obviously community wardens that would neighbour up with the cops at the weekend, so we need to maybe get some help from our third sector colleagues, and we're all committed to getting around the table and looking at what we can do collectively and making sure that we'll get the right things to offer the young people to divert them away from crime. So I think we just need to start with a bit more innovative as well, and making sure that we've got the right things in place.
And it was the law, just a follow-up on that. One of the main inquiries I'm getting at the moment really isn't just exactly what you're speaking about, but it's just where you know, people are being sort of targeted by gangs of youths in the town centre, particularly at Shellyville bus station and Bill Street and the surrounding streets round about that, where somebody had actually contacted me that he'd been really threatened by some youths in the area and quite frightened, and people who seem to be sitting there with drink on the street in terms of that inside as well. and people are feeling really intimidated, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, certainly when I worked in the third sector, some of the initiatives where people were actually going out on the streets and actually speaking to young people, which was a really great way forward, and I understand that's a much more sustainable approach than police sort of attending every time, but I was just wondering in terms of the threat to people, because I've had quite a few reports of really vulnerable people who have been very, very frightened and afraid to go out now. And you touched on that with the kind of partnerships, but in the initial stages, just like now, where people are really frightened right now, what would be the way forward?
So we have had that challenge around, there's been some challenges when there's football games on, with people coming in, but I mean, we work closely with BTP as well, and we've got spotters and all the rest of it, so we can kind of cut those things off the pass. But we do get a lot of large groups of young people, you know, they are going around in large groups, particularly around the town centre. So we have, over the last 2 months, we've done quite a lot of plain clothes operations in the town centre, and pretty much nipped that in the bud. So we have charged quite a lot of the young people with, you know, sometimes it's like housebreaking as well, you know, getting into bakers and stuff, and just, you know, or being up on the roofs, etc. You know, we worked with our colleagues in fire and rescue, and we worked with landlords, with businesses, to look at all the access points for them getting up on the roof and just generally hanging about the town centre. And we've got really good CCTV coverage, so we have a lot of detections for those individuals. It's mainly children between 12 and 15, so we have been very successful in doing that. We were now, we had a couple of operations over the pre-season weeks into Scrutiny, where that was just a wee bit of an emerging threat there, but it was, you know, we've kind of done that in the past. But it's obviously worse when schools are off, etc. So, and anybody that we charge that needs a multi-agency intervention wraparound there or already working with Bernardo's or whatever else, will go back to Strive to look at what's working now and what do we need to add in or swap out to look at improvements going forward.
Thank you, Ms. Lovelock. Ms. Watson. Come on. I'm the councillor, one of the councillors for the manager North, so I'd just like to thank PC Miller and Tilbury, because I've been working with him in regards to the issues that have been going on with Park Street, and he's been really helpful in trying to help him as much as I think possible. I recently spoken to the Community Alcohol Partnership, and I've spoken with our Paul Fair, our licensing officer, so we are going to try and get a kind of meeting with them to try and see, because they're quite interested in coming to the manager, and they have like kind of full funding for things to get put on, so it would be really good to work with you guys as well. We have that meeting to see like where we should kind of target basically. So I just wanted to, just in regards to, because you're talking about alcohol as well, that it's been something in my mind as well because of what I've seen in Tilbury as well. And just in regards to the community as well, that I think it's really important that when councillors go along as well is to kind of confirm to like community spot how we can help, and kind of how we can shed light, because on the alcohol issue as well, the licensing board can step in when there's seeing that kids are getting alcohol to where they are, because we can put extra kind of regulations on the businesses that we might think that these kids are getting the alcohol from. So just wanted to add that in.
Thanks, Councillor Moore. I think that's a really important point, just to say if we maybe keep to questions on the board.
Yeah, I think I've already been in touch with Claudia around about antisocial behaviour, because it does seem to be something that's on the rise, and I know these things tend to be a bit cyclical, we go through little changes, so there is one is doing up my question just We were discussing this at the Children and Young People's Board meeting the other day, and one of the things that we thought might be really good, speaking with Scotland Donald, etc., was to set up almost like a mini strive, so short, sharp interventions in relation to kind of antisocial behaviours, so working together, and that might be getting the partners, like Fiona said, but like you said there, so it'd be good to get some commitment as to whether that's something that we could really do, because I think that the kind of short, sharp interventions might just help. But also I was wondering, is there any opportunity to almost get the police-based cops to do a wee bit of kind of intervention work in the schools, maybe at assemblies, etc., just talking about the impact this is having on people, etc. Because I think sometimes genuinely that a lot of young people particularly understand that maybe it is intimidating for people hanging about the town, or maybe if they kind of act in a different way, etc., it might have a bit of an impact, because I'm the one for believing that if a young person hanging around the streets taking part in antisocial behaviour, so maybe just kind of targeting a wee bit of the police-based resources around that might help too.
We're still getting the 2 SDOs that cover the high schools and the community resources through the primary schools. So they're already doing inputs around, but we'll ramp it up around antisocial behaviour. But what I'd like to see, probably on the back of the meeting with third sector, is for them to go into the schools and, alongside the SPOs and do something together to look at, whether we'll get the right type of interventions and try and encourage them to go along. Because whilst we may have a list somewhere of all the things that are available, the young people are not going to look at that. And the best place to get them is all in one place at the schools.
Thanks. I've just got a question about, it's on the page 23 report, 37 number of papers, just about the public confidence and about complaints and that. I'm just wondering, are you able to tell us any more about that? So just has the figures, the year, doesn't have previous years. I'm wondering if you know what's up or down, or at least other areas, or if there any information about if any of these complaints are upheld, if there's any action at all. That would maybe be a bit more useful as well, if there's anything extra you can add to that. Thanks.
So you're referring to the complaints about the police, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So we spoke about this at the last meeting, and we don't have any more finite information on the complaints available. And with Clackmannshire being quite a small area, it just was deemed that it wasn't really appropriate to go into the minutiae detail. What I can say is I had a look at these for our year to September. So our on duty complaints they're pretty similar from the preceding year, 434 to 38. And quality of service 23, and they've gone down to 18. What I can reassure everyone on is, and I know this question initially came from yourself, Councillor Coyne last time, that I personally don't have any concerns about the types of complaints about police that come through me or Clackmannshire officers, and I never have in the whole time that I've been there. So if that can provide some reassurance, that would be helpful. And I actually I can't remember the last time there was any crime of violence that was complained about with the officers that was subsequently upheld. So that's as much as I can that I have available for the committee.
Councillor Coyne.
Just a little bit into that. It's not clear from the statement if these are complaints lodged or complaints upheld. And I thought complaints upheld is a more useful figure than complaints lodged, because you need to disregard the fixation.
Yeah, so I have, if you let me take that away, I get the question being answered, and I have other data that I think we may be allowing to report back, so I'm happy to take away from like to an action just to see if we supplement the data in that report and the hospital report, provide some better context around about RPL versus not, as obviously when we're dealing with small numbers, it's difficult to get the finite detail, but I think I should be able to provide a greater level of detail that we can cover.
Yeah, it's not a follow-up, that's just a switch now to another question there. Okay. On page 22, just looking at driving, the dangerous driving and speeding, I know we've been delighted to see there's a drop of 20% in the stats for last year to this year. I know that certain of the communities get better exercise about speeding through towns and villages, and it's probably 50% of the value that I have in the community councils. And following on from the notion that the recruitment will stifle the involvement of police in traffic duties when there are other more important things to attend to, I wonder, again, it's empowering the community. I always tell them, when they complain about it, it's all data driven. You need the data in order to get an action. You need the data. So they say, well, where do we get the data from? So my question is, how do we get the data? What can they access by way of data capture equipment or systems to enable to present that data, but a data-driven case to the enforcement?
So I suppose the first thing to point out, as much as I would like to say that the drop-off in speeding and dangerous driving is a result of roads being safer. My hope is that will be a big element of that, but bear in mind, we're going to make a report activity. Some of that will be because we may be less able to go and do the detection work. So in terms of data, we need to drill into that in terms of the amount of time we deploy to do that activity, and I think our ability to deploy in that space will become more stressed as the months in delay. In terms of the data, so how we do deploy, so as I said, it is a priority for us, so we continue to deploy into the highest areas of concern, so those that are either flagged by communities that are coming back up with action data, and so we can do some of that, but actually there's opportunities for members of the public to make representation of the authority for speed detection, so they can get the speed strips and such like, and so that's one thing that they can look to do. And then our Camera Safety Partnership, they examine action hotspots and all that type of stuff, and they will then use that information as well as for detection, as well as monitoring, to then look to see if they need to change or relocate the areas in which they decide the camera safety. Because so in terms of the data that the communities can get themselves, it's actually more for the communities to flag the concerns that they have and allow the authority or us to try and do that monitoring, when it's appropriate to do it.
So the first protocol then, if they want to be proactive, would be to approach the council to get speed capture data strips. That is a starting point for them that doesn't involve the police.
No, I think the starting point still is us. I think twofold, and there'll be quite a criteria, I'm sure, against which the roads department will be thinking about how they will have a really finite resource against which they can deploy, and a high criteria against which they will do that. So I think what people have to do, as they actually are doing, is where they have to raise it to the community officers, and we will look to prioritise it as we can. If we are seeing actions coming through, then we react fast. We see that just in the data, and that's where the really high quality. We work with the road safety group, and we have road safety partnerships both divisionally, locally, and nationally, and that data is assessed to see that, okay, where should we be prioritising traffic monitoring, where should we be looking at the road design, for example, in terms of trying to engineer out some of the areas where we do have action hotspots, and we do have areas where risk is prevalent.
To be fair to our roads and transport,
So yeah, this I just talk over here.
Council for
Okay, sorry. I'll hand over to the group.
Somebody make a point about freedom in question. So we currently don't have anybody trained to do the strips. I do believe that we could get a private company, but I think it would cost £600 to be able to deploy them for a week. Do you agree? Just that's kind of our position in regards to the strips. So.
I hear all this, and my problem is a lot of communities where they say, well, someone needs to die before anything will happen. And it's not just accidents, it's effect on older people who are trying to cross the roads in small villages where there are lorries and vans, firing through. So they could wait from here until doomsday for someone to get killed. But in the meantime, it's a few old people trying to cross the road.
So drifting a bit off questions, just more comment, can you leave that for debate?
Okay, so I'll finish up with the question.
Okay.
So the only solution to this is through strips, which would either through the roads department or a private contractor. And let me have the right, I have great respect for our roads department, they work very hard under resource. So they do what they can and they do very well. But is that the only data capture you do for streets?
No, it's not the only data capture. As I say, we will continue to respond to concerns where priorities are brought to us. We can only provide a finite time-bound impact assessment, so our staff will go for a limited time. It will give a true reflection of the problem that's being faced. And probably our presence here will scale the wider problem, so it will impact for the time they're there. The impact of that activity is very time limited in terms of driver behaviour, so that the wider pieces to work with those colleagues to try and get information over a longer period of time, to see what design work might be done, to see what education might be done, and collectively come at it. But as I say, our ability to impact through detections is finite. But the actual impact of that work in any case is limited.
Any other questions?
Well, I'm happy to move the paper. I thought it was an excellent report as well as this committee. They give really good sort of real information for us to consider, as well as the statistics. So we're seeing the actual case studies, so we can see the real reason that's taking place. But also, I was really encouraged to see so many statistics improving, and I've seen that time and again as we're coming to committee. So that's a really positive reflection on the work that's been done, and Strive is highlighted, and so was the issue of mental health concerns. And I'm really encouraged in Clackmannanshire that we take that issue so seriously. And I think it's such an important area that I think the work that's been done, and Audit would be sort of ahead of that, it's been transformational, and I just hope that the new person that comes in has the same sort of agenda moving forward. I think this is an excellent report. I think it gets us at the community committee, and you see from just the level of interest by councillors that we've got a lot of interest and very impressed with that report. So thank you. I'm going to ask for somebody to second. Ellen?
Yeah, happy to second the report, and again echoing what Janine said there. It's a good report that gives a good flavour of the work that's going on across Clackmannanshire, and some of the case studies you might not think are necessarily traditional police work, and I think that's a recognition of where things have moved. And I think the stats you gave earlier about the responses to people, responding to calls about concerns about people really highlights that as well. The report highlights the work in Strive around about the violence against women partnership, and that preventative work I think is really key. And certainly the police is one of the main community planning partners. I think they should have stepped up to the plate on this and has been working really well with the council and other partners around about this. And I think I said in the question earlier about the kind of rise in antisocial behaviour, it would be good to get around the table and just discuss how we can attack that and probably reassure our communities that there's work ongoing and that we're listening to the concerns. The stats, I think, is what these reports are usually always about. I think they're moving in the right direction there. As usual in Club Manager, stats can be interpreted one way or another. Where we see an increase of 2, we see there is a 500% increase, and that could be certainly portrayed in another way. Yeah, good report, and thanks for all the work there.
Thanks to Mr. Borson. Now, would you like to debate the paper? We were asked to vote the paper, they're happy to do so. Thank you. We shall move on to items and the 5 performance report, and we're aware that Kenny Barber's not available, so we can ask whoever's going to be there to take the report forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everybody. By means of introduction, my name is Group Commander Lee Turlock. I'm one of the group commanders within the Clap Manager, Fife and Stirling Local Senior Officer area. And alongside me is Station Commander Rachel Rogers, who is the Station Commander for Alloa Fire Station. I'm going to pass you over to Rachel shortly in order to provide some context to the report, and then we will field any questions that come thereafter. What I would like to say is the report has been built on from the 6-monthly report, which was provided previously from myself, and we've provided further context with regards to ward-specific data. So hopefully that has been welcomed from members of the panel community commitment here. There's strong evidence within the reports of strong and key partnership working aimed at prevention and a commitment to resilience. I think that although it's not prevalent in this report, it would be remiss of me not to mention the efforts that have been made by the Scottish Fire Rescue Service and wider partners through recent storm events that we've experienced within the country. And I would like to put it on record my gratitude as well as that of Eric Commander Kenny Barber and the remainder of our management team for the efforts of both our operational firefighters but also our support staff in achieving positive outcomes both in the communities within Club Manager but also in the wider communities that we serve. So I just wanted to capture that here for today. This does come similar to what our peers in Scotland mentioned in their preamble. This does come in the backdrop of financial restraint for the organisation. Our Chief Fire Officer, Ross Haggett, through the Justice Committee and the Resource Spending Review, outlined the budgetary challenges that the Scottish Fire Rescue Service faces in the coming years following the flat cash budget settlements that have been received. And as such, we are having to review our operating landscape and where we sit in order to maximise both our resilience and that of the communities within Scotland, but also what measures we can be proactive on to maintain and continue with our prevention agenda and what we're doing. So the report, which Rachel will feed on, is a positive report, but it will come with challenges moving forward as we go. But I would just wish it on record as well that you have our full commitment to ensure that we continue when so far as reasonably practical what we can do in order to obviously support partnership arrangements both within the council but also within third sectors in order to realise large chances for members of the public. So on that, I'll stop rambling and I'll pass you over to Rachel who will provide you with the report.
Thank you and good morning everyone. I'm pleased to submit our annual performance report for the period 1st of April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023. I'll briefly summarise our activity, however we'll welcome any questions that members may have in relation to SFRS performance. Section 2.1 of the report provides a summary of the 12 key performance indicators and comparative figures for the previous 2 annual reporting periods. This data provides the committee with an indication of trends and areas of ongoing concern and improvement. 9 KPIs report a reduction against their respective headline figure. 1 show parity with this headline figure, and 2 show an increase against headline figures.
We are pleased to see a reduction in the number of accidental dwelling fires and deliberate primary fires respectively. This is directly aligned to the efforts of the operational crews and community action teams to work with the public and partner agencies to see improvements. It is also a testament to the awareness and support from the general public, which is demonstrating improvements in community resilience. Performance against local priorities. P1, local risk management and operational preparedness. Both operational crews and our dedicated fire safety enforcement teams have undertaken 25 premise audits and 88 operational intelligence visits in this reporting period. Fire manager crews have also maintained a high level of operational preparedness through our training for occupational competence framework, which includes core training in breathing apparatus, procedures, driving, RTC extrication techniques, and specialisms that include flood response. P2, unintentional harm and injury. To continue our support to the wider Building Safer Communities programme, operational crews and community safety advocates have undertaken a large volume of partnership working to assist in the realisation of improved life chances, resilience and well-being. A summary of action undertaken can be found in Appendix 1 of this report. SFRS has been able to work directly with 187 high and 158 medium risk households to improve fire safety awareness and install where required working smoke detection. This is an excellent figure of achievement, which will only increase as the referral network with partner agencies recovers from pandemic-related restrictions. SFRS as lead agency for inland water safety have also worked with partners through COSLA and the Force Group, which is the partnership approach towards safety, to improve education, awareness and signage at water hotspots. Following a spate of water-related fatalities within the east of Scotland in the previous reporting period, we are encouraged by operational activity in this area to date and will continue to drive water safety messaging to local communities and tourists alike. SFRS also continues to support partnership arrangements to improve road-related safety. We have actively supported the Safe Drive initiative, which allows SFRS to engage directly with CLAC manager-based S4 and S5 students. In this reporting year, all schools except for Lord's Hill attended. However, our community safety and engagement team are remaining in contact with them to provide safety messaging and support if required. P3, accidental dwelling fires. We have seen a 52% reduction in the number of reported accidental dwelling fires within the reporting period. This demonstrates a progressive reduction in the incident profile year-on-year for the previous 3 reporting periods. Cooking and faulty fuel supply continues to be the main ignition source in the home. It is pleasing that 72% of these properties have smoke detection and that of these over 87% assisted in raising the alarm. It is recognised that not all fires produce the volume of product required to activate an alarm, therefore this figure should be reassuring and indicates that the Home Fire Safety Visit Programme is supporting improved life outcomes. There is continued trend in the reduction of severity of fires, which can be attributed to the increase in detection systems in place that are providing the early warning of fire. Before is deliberate fire setting. Deliberate primary fire is equated to 10 incidents. This figure is 6 below that of the previous reporting period and below the current headline target for this KPI. It is pleasing to see a reduction of this incident type within 4 of the 5 wards for the fire manager. The small rise in fire manager south can be attributed to a 12-day window in July 2022, where SFRS experienced a small spike in incidents in close proximity to each other directly linked to the results of antisocial behaviour and derelict premise. Secondary fires have been the biggest cause for concern in fire management. In real terms, there has been a 13% increase from the previous reporting period. The main fuel sources associated with these acts of antisocial include loose refuse, tree scrub and roadside vegetation, wheelie bins and other receptacles. To mitigate the continuation in these incidents, SFRS has undergone a significant amount of work with partners to realise future improvements. These include, but are not limited to, school talks and youth group engagement in all boroughs of the Clack Manager, joint patrols in Allen Town Centre with Police Scotland during the school holidays, engagement with young people frequenting our harbour following the spike in incidents at this location, engagement and leaflet dropping to future following issues identified in Barn Park Drive Industrial Estate and neighbouring streets, support at Till Future Parish Church following the large deliberate state of fire setting in the area, bonfire and antisocial behaviour specific talks to audio groups throughout the council areas, and continued access to the fire safety support and engagement referral pathway for individuals identified as undertaking acts of antisocial behaviour related to willful fire setting. We are also developing the fire skills course, which will provide a selected group of young people in Top Management the chance to experience Scottish Fire and Rescue Service for a week, learn valuable life skills, teamwork, and more about the service. Participants will be selected from individuals interested in a career in the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, those with previous fire setting history who have shown willful behaviours, and those identified as care experienced. P5, built environment. Non-domestic property fires equated to 14 incidents over this reporting period. 57% of these events were identified as accidental and fire safety post-fire audits, are supporting awareness and advise on mitigation measures to see reductions in the report. We are pleased to report no fire fatalities aligned to this priority, but we have reported a slight increase in the number of non-fatal casualties for this reporting period, which is reflected in the impact this has had on KP1 H18. Whilst this is tracking upwards, the significance of injury was slight, with either minor burns or smoke inhalation being reported. SFRS is also actively engaging with partners to address the issue of derelict premise and their involvement in a number of incidents during this reporting period. P6 are monitored fire alarm signals. These increased by 17% against the previous reporting period, but remains below the headline target for this KPI. Fire Manager South and West have seen the greatest volume of UCAS incidents over the reporting period, and significant efforts have been undertaken to work with duty holders to improve strategies and early evaluation of automatic fire alarm signals. Graph 15 shows the largest prevalence of UCAS signals are during daytime hours. Graph 16 shows the largest prevalence of UCAS incidents related to the school building portfolio. Our UCAS champions continues to work with these premises to see improvements on housekeeping, early response to an activation and other mitigating options to reduce these numbers moving forward. In April 2023, a report was provided to the elected members relating to the change in Scottish Fire and Rescue Service approach to UFAS from the 1st of July 2023. This new response model is aimed at reducing the volume of AFA fire alarms that Scottish Fire and Rescue Service will automatically respond to. And we have worked extensively with sector groups and industry leaders to ensure that this has been clearly communicated and responsible persons are implementing the needs that are required. Scottish Fire and Rescue Service will always respond to a confirmed fire, and we will work with exempt persons such as those with sleeping risks to reduce the impact of UFAS to the site, our staff and the wider environment. Further detail and duty holder guidance is available at the Fire Scotland website, which is firescotland.gov.uk. P7, which is transport and the environment. Scottish Fire and Rescue Service has experienced an increase in the number of road traffic collisions we are asked to attend. This may not be as a result of increased road risk, but through greater partnership working with colleagues within Police Scotland and Scottish Ambulance Service. The number of RTCs within Clackmannanshire remained relatively stable, and a small increase of 2 to 16 events in the reporting period. A review of the incident profiles provides no trends associated with accident hotspots that would lead to a requirement for a direct intervention. We are pleased to confirm that no recorded fatalities were linked to RTCs in this reporting period, whilst non-fatal casualties have increased twofold to 10 persons. Incident evidence indicates that in the main injuries require precautionary medical intervention only. There were 21 reported incidents linked to flooding and 1 requiring SFRS intervention by water rescue trained personnel. Drowning and incident reviews were undertaken following the attendance of swift water rescue personnel and findings taken to the cause group for preventative action. This has increased the partnership approach with water-related incidents and will help to reduce the inherent risks associated with inland water activities and safety messaging throughout the locality. So in conclusion, specific indicators, including accidental dwelling fires, fire casualties and non-domestic property fires, have continued to remain low in frequency. The severity of these fires has also decreased. SFRS continues to undertake preventative initiatives to address fires associated with antisocial behaviour. With the numbers remaining high year on year, we will continue to be proactive and work with partners to realise improvements. Also, with the implementation of the SFRS Time for Change response policy, we will continue to work with premise and business owners to build self-resilience and housekeeping standards associated with maintenance and initial response to automated fire alarm systems. To date, the data is encouraging and we will be clear as we enter the next reporting period. And that is the end of the report. I would just like to mention that one of our young youth volunteers at Alloa, who attends on a weekly basis, was recently involved in an incident at Fort Valley College where a lady collapsed, and he responded and performed CPR to give her the best chance. So that's a very direct outcome of some of the work that we'll be doing with young people in the community. Thank you.
That's excellent. Thanks very much for that example. That's really good to hear. I'll kick off with the first question, if you don't mind. So you had mentioned and alluded to, it's not so much part of the report, but the kind of level of resourcing that's available. But within the report, and the annual performance summary, and I can see later on in the report, the deliberate secondary fires side was increasing, not substantially, but there was still an increase. Just in terms of like, what we saw last year in the summer, where there was masses of like, fires out in forests and open grass and areas like that, do you think there'll be enough resourcing available if those things come from the deliberate secondary fires?
So we have a wildfire strategy. You're alluding to wildfire here in the summer months. The hot weather, whilst you would anticipate it being the primary cause for wildfires, it's the amount of dead vegetation on the ground, which is actually the largest indice of wildfire spread, which is why predominantly we see wildfire within March, April is our wildfire season in Scotland at present, and the data supports that we have at our disposal. That being said, yes, antisocial behaviour can play a part. The majority of wildfires can be attributed to human behaviour as opposed to environmental or acts of above, so to speak. So any preventative activities that we have to reduce the instances of antisocial behaviour will only provide positive outcomes for that. With regards to our resources, we have ample resource within the organisation to not only respond to wildfire incidents, but also through our prevention teams to tackle it at source in order to reduce the potential for it to happen in the first place. To give you reassurance, the Scottish Environmental Services is a national organisation. If I go back to the recent storm events, we were able to draw upon resources from the north of the Scotland as well as the west of Scotland, and vice versa from the east of Scotland into the north in order to provide that resilience to the communities of Scotland. So whilst we have our footprint within Clackmannanshire, we can draw upon resources from outside, and frequently we do that. If we go to a wildfire, it could easily be 3, 4 fire appliances that attend that incident, so they will not all come from Clackmannanshire. And if we have concurrent incidents on the go at the same time, our control teams will mobilise the nearest appliances and then we'll build that resilience into the area to backfill and provide that, insurance policy if there are further incidents thereafter. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, thanks. That's very reassuring. Any other questions? Councillor Corson?
Sorry, and apologies if this has been asked, I had to kind of pop it out here. We see under point 8 the unwanted fire alarm signals. For the period of the report, that was up by 17%. But we know from July this year, obviously SFRS are no longer attending these just as a matter of course. Given that the increase in the previous reporting period, would there have been any of those that would cause concern if you hadn't attended them?
So So the definition of an unwanted fire alarm signal is an alarm that, well, upon arrival of the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, there has been no fire, no trace of fire, smoke, etc. And it's either down to poor maintenance of the system or a detector head which is faulty. So in the main, the answer to that would be no. There would be no cause for concern. The new UFAS policy, which came in from July, is designed to put the responsibility back on the premises responsible person to ensure that the systems are in place and that they also have the ability to carry out that initial investigation. As was alluded to by Rachel, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service will always attend confirmed fires, and the ask from the policy is that when the alarm signal is received to say, or the smoke alarm system goes off, that there's an initial inspection to see. There are criteria where the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service will automatically attend, and as was mentioned, one of the exemptions is for sleeping risk. So any property that has a sleeping risk, we will maintain our predetermined attendances to those incidents. Today, I don't have the data in front of me today, but we've seen approximately a 57% reduction in the number of UFAS nationally within Scotland. So that data will naturally feed into all of the local authority reports that were provided. And there's not been any incidents that have been unaware of that would have caused concern for the members of the public.
So another question. At previous committees we had discussed when Mark was here about the creation of the youth volunteer scheme, and that seems to be going really well. I just wondered if we've got any update on that and whether there is something that you guys could add into the mix when we start to talk about the antisocial behaviour and working with young people.
So absolutely, the youth volunteer scheme is currently progressing really well. We recently took part in the national event for extrication down south. So we have a team in Alloa and there's also a group in Methil, and we're looking at getting them working together and out in the community more. So if you want to speak with me about how they can, assist with any projects that you've got coming up in terms of the antisocial, the kids that come along are largely from the area, and it's about giving them those skills to set them on the right track. So that is the ethos behind it, really.
Well, I don't know if you caught it when you left the room or not, but we're looking at what was the term in the report? There's almost like a week-long course that we're looking to develop. The fire skills is what we're looking at, and we're bringing all members of the community in, so there's of interest for all that. So we, as was alluded to, individuals that are interested in the career within the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, those who have been identified as having exposed themselves to fire setting and perhaps are showing reformed behaviours, and also those who are within the care system, so that care provided. Look to give them so that we can help them improve their life chances, provide them with life skills, team work, etc. So a week seems like quite a small snapshot, but it provides them with access to, and then likewise we can enrol them, or there's a natural progression into the youth volunteer scheme if they wish to pursue that. So there's opportunities there for youth, and fire services fully committed to engaging with our young members of society.
Just on that, and in relation to the care experience young people, can I just check that you all can tie up with their services, because there's obviously a lot of work going on for the promise right now, and I think that's a really good opportunity, just making sure that we're getting the right young people. So very important to know that and get in touch.
No, absolutely, and as a corporate parent, we have a responsibility to that, and we will support that. And our community safety engagement teams who sit within the pools group, for example, they're more than prepared to provide some capacity and support that.
I was just going to mention that quite a number of our staff are also involved with the MCR pathways, providing mentoring to young people in the communities as well, which is something that we promote as an organisation.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a couple of questions. First one is a bit of a nitpicker, actually. Page 47, your set of graphs there that show the ups and downs against the headline target, which are actually not shown on that particular page, so I'm jumping backwards and forwards to try and find what they were. Question is, what and who, what determines what the headline target is? The reason I'm asking that is if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, non-fatal RTC casualties, over the last few years, 5, and 10, so it doubles, but it still doesn't hit the headline target. So the headline target must be more than twice the experience of the previous 2 years. That's weird, is it not? Try again.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. You brought this to the last meeting as well, I don't know if you recall. So the headline targets was agreed through the council, and it's something that we are looking at. We are currently reviewing our local authority plans for 2024, and that will be distributed through consultation at the appropriate time once we're in a position where we're ready to conduct that. There's an opportunity there where we can look at headline targets. I see and accept in some parts your comments there, whether we review it for the last 5 years worth of data and use that as a mean average, and that's what we use as our headline target moving forward, but we can take that to the consultation.
Okay, thanks for that. Maybe a rolling target would be the way to do it. Anyway. Second question is about flooding. There's been a lot of concern about flooding, particularly building sites and prospective building sites, but individual properties as well. Have you got a view on the robustness of our flood defence systems in this county?
I think it's exceptional weather systems is becoming the norm now when it comes to weather patterns and what we're seeing, whether that's from global warming or other extreme events. That's not for my place to say. The Fire and Rescue Service's response to flooding is in a position of strength. We're robust enough. Our crews are trained to be flood responders, as well as our dedicated swiftwater rescue technicians who are located at Stirling, which is the closest to here. With regards to the property portfolio, flood response schemes that are here, that's not our gift to comment upon. However, we would say that if you are looking at allocating budgets toward flood response schemes, protecting vulnerable properties, then we would fully advocate that, and we would support any measures that's made in order to protect property and life from effects of flooding.
Following up on that then, are you ever asked to engage with the community councils who often set up flood response officers?
So we do have a visibility media attendant to support the flood response groups, for example in the foothills where there is regular flooding, and I know there's a lot of work that takes place with those groups for resilience and actions when those areas do become flooded, and obviously we will absolutely support any actions that we can in that regard.
Just in regards to the development of new estates, I know a lot of new estates, the roads are quite small and whatnot. How does that kind of affect? Do you guys get kind of input into in regards to that? Is if there was a fire, how to get your vehicles down there? Because I know some of them are quite tight, so I just kind of wondering about that.
So part of our Prevention and Protection Directorate is divided into two. So one is the engagement, which is the community action teams, which you see in this report with regards to that, but the other one is our enforcement, and so they're responsible for carrying out the post-fire audits, they're responsible for carrying out inspections on premises, but what they also are involved in is in the planning stages of applications, looking at provision of fire hydrants, for example. I'm sure they'll probably have something with the width of the roads in order to allow emergency access to these locations. It's not an area of my expertise. I've not worked in that directorate per se, so I'm sure they would have some form of input when it comes to the design of the infrastructure access and egress to these estates.
I recently had to call you guys out because I found a hay bale on fire in Alva, so your response time was brilliant, so I thank you for that. But just in regards to kind of what we were talking about, like abandoned properties getting put on fire, there's been quite a few incidents in the Clip Manager North. How can we help these kind of private owners to secure their properties and to kind of make them kind of like less accessible for kind of them to get kind of deliberately put on fire?
So I think the first step is probably getting the police down to do an on-fire safety visit and give advice in that respect. If we're talking about private dwellings, or derelicts, sorry, I didn't pick on that, derelict. So the property owners, it's really about trying to establish what the situation is and secure it. And the key thing is not letting anyone who's looking to set fires that into the property, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges we have. If they can get in, then we're probably going to get turns out to it at some point.
So there is a working group with regards to derelict properties across on a national scale to identify, because it is a common challenge, not just in the area, but across the whole of Scotland. Our ask would be that we would continue to support and work in partnership with working groups that are engaging with property owners of derelict properties. As Rachel alluded to, ease of access into these premises and combined with antisocial behaviour results in what we experienced last year of a spate of fires within derelict properties within a 12-day period, which did draw a lot of resource into the area, from the wide area itself. So we would always actively encourage and support groups that are engaging with that. The Fire Rescue Service does not have any statutory or legal responsibility on domestic properties. So if there are domestic properties that are derelict, it falls on the property owner to secure that adequately. I'm sure our colleagues in Police Scotland have similar challenges with regards to engagement and take up and action on behalf of that. So if there are groups within the council that are actually on board with regards to trying to be proactive, either through enforcement or through other, then we will fully support any actions that are required to see the reduction in those numbers.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up to Councillor Law's first question about new estates and access for fire equipment, fire engines, etc. Are you a statutory consultee when it comes to the planning process? I don't think you are.
As I alluded to, it's not my area of expertise within the Scottish Fire Service, so we need to potentially take that as an action and get that feedback through. We do sign-offs on new property builds, for example, with regards to fire safety regulation. So whether access and egress forms part of that checklist, I can't say definitively here and now, but we could capture that. But whether we're a statutory sign-off, I'd need to seek guidance on that.
We appreciate you just for the matters that's in the report, so yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Any other questions? No? Okay. I'm happy to move the paper. So really encouraged that it was a really comprehensive paper, and thank you very much for your presentation as well, which was great. It really brought it to life in terms of the issues within it. It's really encouraging to see in your annual performance survey again that matters are moving in the right direction, and I was particularly encouraged to see that there were no home fatalities, which I think is excellent, and it shows that the wider public engagement is working well, and you're actually getting out into the communities. And I think what's really apparent across this report is the visibility of the fire service across Clip Manager, and getting out into local communities, engaging with them, and ensuring that we're all working together on this, which I think is excellent. So I'd love to commend this report. I think it's really excellent. As always, you bring this really good information, and thank you very much. Would anybody like to take a second?
Yes, I'm happy to second the paper. As usual, thanks Phil, well presented, good layout, and a big compliment to what you do and how you do it.
We're all happy to get the paper. Okay.
Also, we didn't want to be at it every time, seriously. Okay. You're getting on with this, so thank you very much for your time and hope to see you again soon. Okay, thank you. So we're on to item 6, the Partnership and Performance Business Plan 2022-23 year-end report, and that will be issued at last.
Thank you, Chair. This report relates to the Partnership and Performance Business Plan year ending 31st of March 2023. The key theme of this past year has been catch-up. Due to the nature of our services, more B&B staff are abstracted for longer than the pandemic response, and in some cases, our staff returned to their posts a year after many had elsewhere in the council. There is no doubt we have backlogs, presenting many challenges for staff, customers, and indeed the services that we support. This reporting period has also seen the continuation of challenging risk profile, where cost of living is hitting our communities hard, where inflation and recruitment and retainment, financial constraint and stretched workforce is inhibiting our ability to support and assist in the way that we would want. Overlaying this and increasing threats, including from cybersecurity and impacts from climate change. Despite these challenges, I believe this report demonstrates improvement across all our services. This is perhaps greater in some areas than others, but there is improvement in key indicators, in completing actions, and identifying and mitigating risk both at a service level and corporate level. We do need to maintain focus though on where things need to be better and on developing new operating models that enable that. Our absence levels are on a negative trend, perhaps not surprising given that we have a stretched workforce and to some extent an ageing workforce, but improvement is needed there and also in other areas included, for example, in customer response indicators that I illustrated within the appendix. It's not necessarily glamorous working in council support services. It's often unseen and more challenging to attribute in a meaningful way, but it's undoubtedly crucial to the workings of every aspect of everything that we do in the council. So therefore, improvement in service performance does make a significant impact to how the council performs overall and indeed partnership working. So with that, I'd be more than happy to take any questions, Chair, and my colleagues are also lined up opposite me, poised and ready as well.
Thank you, Stuart. Cindy, any questions? Councillor Coulson? Yeah, thanks, Chair. Good report, and I think as you highlighted, there's lots of challenges in the services. However, the area I'm going to look at is in relation to complaints and the performance around about responding there. If someone complains to the council, they're already dissatisfied with the service that they've received, and it's a wee bit disappointing, I suppose, to see that we're not managing to respond to complaints within the kind of targeted times there. I'm just wondering what steps have been taken to kind of make improvements there, and really seek assurances that when we're not able to meet the kind of timescales, etc., that we're communicating this with the complainants and making sure that they understand what the delays might be.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Forson. And yeah, this is an area that's perhaps alluding to this tangentially. It has improved from probably a lower base. I mean, there are actually very clear timelines that are set out in our complaints handling. The numbers that we deal with tend to be small, but quite complex. Quite often there are areas that are touching on a number of areas of the council. And so that brings a complexity because we're having to draw various strands together. I mean, the absolute truth of it is actually about us making sure that we're focused, that we're monitoring it. we do talk about that on a regular basis in our team meetings. It's discussed in the senior leadership group as well. So it's really about that focus. Where we aren't meeting the targets, we are getting bound to actually contact the complainant, seek extension. Sometimes what can happen is that, for example, the complaint, the presenting issue becomes much more complex than the actuality once you get in about it. So that's really about communication. So I'm not really making any excuses for where we are. It's really about keeping that focus on it. It is challenging at times because the teams are small, they are stretched. They're having to make decisions about priorities and what might be more important than other things. By the end of the day, complaints is very much about our interaction with the citizens that we serve. They haven't been necessarily happy with that service, and it is a chance for us to make it right and to re-engage in a positive way. So, I guess on the catch up, I'm seeing things moving in the right direction, nowhere where we want that to be, but in terms of what we need to do, just keeping a focus on that and making sure we're seeing it as sufficient priority.
Yeah, thanks. Looking at some of the key organisational performance results, I got a bit confused when I looked at the number of toolbox talks that have been done, because it says 8% there has that been done, which is not a huge figure. On page 152, the health and safety quotes the number as 1296, 1296. Now, if 1296 is 8%, that can usually be 16,200 employees, which I don't think we do. Right, you said on page 76 that 8% of toolbox talks have been delivered. In page 152, the health and safety report, it quotes that number in a column as 1296, 1296. So if I'm matching a figure of 8% to 1296, then 100% is 16,200 employees. So there's something wrong there somewhere. Just to know which is right.
Feeling in our health and safety mind.
Sorry, the figures quoted in the P&P report is purely for the partnership and performance area of the council. The 1296 refers to the council overall. So there's 1296 toolbox talks have been done in the council overall, but the majority of those will be out with the partnership and performance area.
That's better. Just sticking with that area, the data breaches, 3 of those were reported. It doesn't indicate how serious those were. There was no recognition on that.
I will pass over to Lee on that, and there are various categories of these, but I'm assuming that those data breaches would be ones that we would have to report to the Information Commissioner later reported at the end.
Yeah, there's various levels of data breaches that you have to report. Some are not all reportable, and the ones that we have reported on, as far as I'm aware, the SIC or the ICO haven't got back to us in terms of they've just confirmed that they noted them, and there was nothing further required for them.
Typically, what might one of the data breaches comprise?
I've got to be careful because they're data breaches, so but off the top of my head, say for instance, there was and I'm not suggesting this has happened, but there's been somebody that has put some confidential information, perhaps in a rubbish bin, for instance. Somebody from the public has picked it up, they've looked at it, we've realised it's council papers, we then, there's a requirement to report to the ICO in relation to that. That's kind of an example. The ones that we do tend to report to the ICO are much serious and that could have potential, but not as well. Is that answered?
I think perhaps coming Councillor Clay, I think a lot of this is about education and making sure that we're keeping staff aware. More often than not, it's not malicious, it would tend to be inadvertent.
Yeah.
So it could be, for example, an email that was not, that hadn't been redacted, that contained information, maybe an attachment on that. Sometimes, at a more minor level, it could be an email that is sent internally to the wrong person, but it has personal information on it. A member of the staff would have a requirement to report themselves to the data protection officer on that basis. The data protection officer would have to decide whether that was reportable to the information commissioner. More often than not, we would just report ourselves and let the information commissioner take the decision on that. But yeah, quite a lot of it, for me, is just about making sure that people are really careful, make sure it's the right recipients, that they're not using, replying to all senders, that they're making very careful when they're attaching emails. So we've done quite a lot of development and training on that, and we are doing more on it because it can become very disruptive, and a lot of organisational resources to be brought in to deal with these issues if they do become escalate. At the end of the day, there is a confidence issue around it because I think all of us, when we give our data to an organisation, expect it to be looked after, protected.
Can I ask just to add that the team itself has become much more possible when it was in 2015. We now have 2 governance officers and a senior governance officer, including who's the DPO. We've got a solicitor, she's speaking, but we've got a replacement who deals with data protection all the time. So the team is much more robust. We've put data protection training in place. The elected members are going to this next week in relation to that. And we're continually monitoring, we're reaching out to the monitoring officers throughout the whole of the council and putting training in place with them, getting them to understand what the requirements are, because it's the silly things, the silly little mistakes that get made, but actually have applications.
Yeah, that's fine. It was important just to try and understand the seriousness of the extent of the breach. Was it thousands of names and addresses and bank account details, or was it just simply something simple? And also the fact that the ICO and the other lot didn't actually pick it up as a case. What is important to know, if they say that. So that's fine. People are using that as a problem when I'm looking at it. Fine. Carry on then. Yeah, page 77. The column for 22-23 is empty on the basis that the current survey contract concluded in late 22. Now, late 22 is well into the 22-23 year, which was really starts in April. And I think, why is it located in there for that period, for the last part of the contract?
So the last survey on the previous year, so this last record published in that, so if no survey undertaken last year, the contract came to an end. You recall the council recently approved the interim workforce plan, and then there was the new way going forward of engagement with staff, and the new staff survey will be actually launched on Monday, but there was no survey taken last year.
Yes, right. Can I just carry on? Thanks. On similar average FTE days lost through sickness absence, the last sentence says a new wellbeing strategy and action was agreed by council in December 2022, which was 11 months ago. What impact has that had?
Again, I might invite our strategy to manage to come in, so we will be reporting on the actions within the wellbeing plan to Audit and Scrutiny at some point coming forward, so that we will have oversight of those measures. We continue to provide support measures to staff, and we'll also be reviewing our maximising attendance and absence reporting procedures as part of that sort of improvement. But as been indicated, our absence levels are impacted by longer term absence as opposed to the shorter term ones, and those are the ones that we need to support staff with.
Right. Okay. I was just keen to know whether it was having an impact in an effective strategy. All right. Yeah, council inquiries. It's saying here that the percentage of council inquiries following within the time scale in the partnership performance was 62.2%. That makes me ask the question, is the slowness of the inquiries due to staff shortages, or is it the quality of the inquiries themselves that are difficult to process?
Perhaps I can answer that one, Councillor Quinn. So I would hope generally, I mean, I certainly don't get a lot of feedback in terms of the quality of the response. I stand to correct on that. So it tends to be on our response times and us getting to it tenuously. Again, this is one that's slightly different to some extent with the complaints. I think generally it would tend to be that you know, we are stretched, and it's about, you know, having that. They tend to come back to me or four folks sitting at the other side of the table here generally. There's undoubtedly an element of stretch on that, but it comes back to the same comments I made earlier. There's an element of just trying to ensure the focus. So we have got a focus on it. We are maintaining that, and it has improved from last year. Not at the levels that we would want it. But I mean, I think, you know, to be perfectly honest, and you want to continually go on about these things, but you know, the system is under pressure, folk are stretched, diaries are busy, and you know, I mean, even yesterday evening, I think it was, I finished my meetings at the back of 5, and that's when I got my administrative tasks. And I think, you know, many people are in similar places, but it's about, you know, at the end of the day, you know, no ducking it. You know, councillors, we understand that councillors have got to get responses to constituents. Councillors need to do their job, and the way that they can do that is to get the responses from us, and you know, and if that's taking longer than it should do, that means that, you know, it's impacting on the council's reputation, it's impacting on the council's reputation. So we're going to maintain that focus, and hopefully you'll see that trajectory improving. And I guess just overlaying on that is that, you know, there have been backlogs, there's no doubt about it. You know, I do feel that in the last year or so, we're starting to see a lot of the policy backlogs coming down, we're starting to see some of the indicators moving in the right direction. So just you know, hopefully we're starting to see that, and we'll get, maybe not get up to 100%, but we'll start to be getting it closer to that, which is our target.
Well, I'll repeat my question. Are we playing our part? Are our inquiries clear and to the point, and do we need any kind of training on how to stop an inquiry, and happy with that?
In terms of partnership performance, I have, you know, I think most of us would pick up the phone or seek clarity. I don't think there's any issues in that at all. I can't think of many occasions where that would have been the case. So yeah, it's purely not that kind of, we need to make sure that we're maintaining the focus and trying to get up to that 100%.
Yeah, there's one request I was going to make about putting in on page 79, the second last item, talks about percentage of complaints, which Councillor Thompson alluded to earlier. It was 53.8% that were dealt with, upheld, partially upheld, 50% were upheld. That means nothing without numbers. I mean, that doesn't really tell us whether it's 3 or 33 or 100. Could we have numbers included in things like that going forward?
Yeah, and I think we'll have the data that sits below that to come up with a percentage, so that shouldn't be an issue. So we will certainly endeavour to make sure that we've got the base data sitting below that, so you've got better context around those figures.
Okay, thanks.
I'm holding anyone else up. Please don't have
Can I just jump in and then show you rather than your thoughts, just ask a couple of questions? Thank you. So on page 76, on the percentage of health and safety risk assessments up to date, and also on the number of employees completing core health and safety training, I'm going to come into that later under the health and safety side, but just to ask, the level of uptake has improved, but it's still extremely low, and based on the fact that it's a statutory requirement to meet health and safety, then should that be a mandatory requirement for staff? Is it a mandatory requirement, and is that going to be sort of taken forward?
Yes, we health and safety, we have core health and safety mandatory training, long-term that. ESLG and SLG are monitoring the uptake of risk assessments. These risk assessments are recorded within our new health and safety system, so when we do paper-based risk assessments, it's still haven't been recorded, so the numbers may be slightly better. They need vastly improved, and we are engaging with our services to increase that and additional capacity provided to place as well to support health and safety compliance on a routine basis.
Just another question from me. In the staff survey, and I know that was prior to this, really, only 57% of staff have said they felt valued, and I know it's tied into the wellbeing strategy with staff. And I'm just wondering, as well as the wellbeing strategy, what follow-up there's been with staff in terms of them feeling that kind of feeling valued at work side of things.
So health and safety, well-being is one of the first question in the constructive conversations process. So well-being of staff remains forefront. There's a number of initiatives that are rolled out to staff. We are continuing to update our well-being pages and support to staff. We have a number of campaigns that we publicise throughout the year in the health and safety team, and what was the Healthy Working Lives team work on a number of initiatives that were. Alistair or Sean, just want to add.
So there you go, just to further on what Chris has said there, well-being is one of the key strands of the new staff survey which will be coming out on Monday, the 30th of October. We've included it because it's a really important quantitative indicator for us to actually get data. So as Councillor Coyne was saying, how do you measure someone's well-being, how do you measure the impact of what we're doing? The staff service will be one of the key areas in which we can do that. Now, specifically included in the staff survey, there are a number of key indicators of engagement with staff that have carried on from our 2018 survey all the way through the past 4 years. And will continue moving forward into the 2023 survey. So we will be able to track the impact of what we're doing in terms of the work into the workforce strategy and all the workforce development initiatives that we're taking forward, and well-being will be an absolutely core component of those going forward.
Just one more for me. On page 81, we've got the consultation engagement activities that are going forward for the budget and corporate strategies. And I was just wondering, in terms of the engagement process, consultation, what number of responses were received back?
Thanks, Councillor. Can I just check what or which part of the consultation you're referring to? Is it the budget consultation from last year?
Yeah, so it states in January 2023, a second public consultation was held on specific budget proposals for 23-24, with findings reported. So just to know how many responded to that.
Yeah, thank you. So off the top of my head, it was a few hundred. It was reported back to all councillors at the time, so the full results were presented back to councillors ahead of the budget setting process. I can certainly follow up that figure, but from memory, it was a few hundred, both to the phase 1 and the phase 2 part of the consultation.
Just on that, obviously a few hundred is not a large number in terms of the level of individuals we have within Club Manager. And I wondered if there was any plans for future consultation to be going out to like community councils ahead of things, just with different community groups, really to target people as widely as possible.
Yeah, thank you. So we share the budget consultation with community councils, and there is an offer there to go out. So also a number of voluntary organisations, we ensure that we are engaging with them to make sure we're getting the best response we possibly can on the budget. What I will say is those figures tend to be fairly stable for us. So those are the types of response rates that we normally see year on year, and there's no huge big change really around that. In previous years, we have gone out and done roadshows, and they've been mixed success in terms of the numbers coming in, but always happy to look at the approach. Always happy to do that.
Jean, you don't need to switch yourself off. You can keep yourself on.
That's good to know.
Thanks. I've just got a question about on page 76 again, about the number of violent incidents. I mean, it's increased about, it's 5 times what it was the previous year, and since violent incidents in education was increased significantly. Can you tell us a bit more about that, and what's going on, why is it such a massive change?
I think it's more of a jump because it's better reporting. It was underreported previously. The new system has the reporting aspects on that in terms of from a health and safety perspective.
And I also get just pick up on a few bits that, yeah. So looking 2 years ago, just coming out of COVID, certainly new system has seen significant increase. We have got learners that have got significant needs in Clackmannanshire at the moment we support really well. But there would still be instances whereby staff would have to record some of the behaviours that are presented. 2 areas that we've seen really big spikes in that is our provisions that support more severe and complex than authority. So that takes up quite a lot of the numbers that are increased. But there's no doubt coming out of COVID as well that we're seeing a lot of our learners behave in different ways. And I think that in particular when I look at sort of trends of age groups and where that comes into play, certainly something in the early years, early as primary, we can see increased trends in there. On top of that, we have got support strategies that we've got in place, and readiness for learning is our nurturing approaches that our staff are trained at to try to support this and hopefully unpick some of this to make sure that these behaviours are supported, changed, and families are supported. And just finally on this, it's a real national focus at the moment. You can see it out with industrial actions. It ties to supporting schools, support staff, recording incidents is at the forefront of what the government wants to make sure that we are doing this really robustly. And we, as Clackmannanshire, we've got staff sitting at the national table discussing this, and we will continue to record. So I think we could still continue to see a high number of recording of it. It doesn't mean to say that we've not got good strategies to try to support some of the things that are going on in our schools and our ELCs.
Just keep going all the time.
I wasn't really good.
Yeah, okay. The next one, I'm going to get myself in trouble here. On page 78, percentage of highest paid 5% of earners among council employees that are women is recorded. Why? I mean, surely we're appointing people on merit, and the gender doesn't come into it.
Could you ask the question again? I'm not entirely sure if you're asking about the figure or why that is an indicator that we report on council.
I'm asking why it's even an indicator. A better indicator would be the number of people who applied for the post and what the genders were and what gender was appointed. And over a period of time you can see if there's always one gender that's being appointed, then that's a bit funny. But it's got to be seen against the background of who applied for the job. So who got the job is only is a secondary consideration in a way, and it doesn't mean anything. That report.
So probably fairly easy for me to answer that question, then that is a statutory performance indicator that we are required as Scottish Government to report on. I'm sure my colleagues in the left of me would say we've got really robust recruitment processes, which would mean it's the best candidate, that would get a job throughout all recruitment. However, that particular, though both of those figures are statutory indicators, we are required to report on.
That's fine, we'll exclude.
Stuart Watson on that?
Also, Councillor Cunningham. There has been quite a huge difference. I mean, I started working in local government in 1986. Every manager was a man. There was no women managers. Today we've got leader of the council is a woman, we've got chief executive is a woman, we've got women that are on the management team, the station commander at Hull is a woman, the local chief inspectors. So it might seem today that it's part and parcel of normal. It's normal, but actually when this indicator came in, it probably wasn't, and so. I'm not saying it's any less or more valid now than it was back then, but there has been quite a trajectory, so in that last 30 or 40 years. So it's probably an equalities indicator, whether it's happened there or not, I don't know, but certainly there has been a huge difference in a short period of time around that one.
It's okay, I'll try and move with contentious issues. Okay, page 85, procurement strategy review. Now this is a 0% achievement, you're not started. I just want the question is not so much why is it not started, I'm sure I can guess the reason, but what are the potential impacts of not having a procurement strategy review? What could go wrong?
I guess to some extent the procurement strategy is perhaps beyond its due date. I don't think it's any the less valid, and I think I would back that up. We're saying that some of the indicators are actually moving in a positive direction. So again, this is one of the areas that we've got a wee bit to catch up on. We've got to make decisions whether we're supporting major procurement initiatives, whether we're a single officer there, or whether we're focusing on the strategy. But I will just give you some of the evidence, and again, we will catch up on that one. But I will give you some evidence on that one. It's also within the report, which is showing that work that's been done, for example, on local procurement, and that's one that when the strategy has come up previously, within our community benefits and local procurement was a real key driver for all members at that time. That one's really continuing to go on a really positive trajectory. So we do, that's one of the areas where we acknowledge that we've got a catch up, but also got a lot of significant procurement work and some of the biggest procurement initiatives that we've had for a long time at the moment. So really it's just a balance of working out, what we need to focus on. But so I think there is, I would be very surprised if the strategy took a hugely different tack from where it was when it was looking back, I think it was 2018-19. And then Derek is online and will probably provide a far more comprehensive answer than I can. So Derek, I'll pass over to you.
Yes, thank you, Stuart. Just to update the committee that on the December meeting that's coming up, the procurement annual report will be sent to that committee. And also, just for information, the tail end of that actually has an action plan on the contract strategy or the procurement strategy as well, which has been updated for this year. Totally appreciate the fact that this strategy is going to be getting reviewed for going forward. but that will be in consultation with a number of partners and a number of agencies as well. But just so that you know that there is actually there is an update there for everyone to see. I think Stuart's maybe circulated it to a couple of yourselves, but in its draft form before it actually gets submitted to the committee. But it's there and ready to be viewed at any time.
Anyone else anything to ask? The Financial Regulations Review on page 86, again, an all that's not started. A new completion to date is yet to be defined. Again, what does that do and what might go wrong?
So the financial regulations were actually reviewed in June 2023, so just a few months ago and approved by Council. So that has been done and completed. We do an annual review to see if there's any major changes to be made, and we will make any changes if they were required. So again, the financial regulations, a bit like the procurement strategy, they're pretty robust as they are. So we will only tweak them if the change was required. So, but they have been fully reviewed as at June, and we're working with the revised regulations.
Do you tweak them as you go along, or after you review them and do it an annual mega tweak?
If anything is flagged up that requires tweaking or changes, we would do it at that time. If it was serious enough, that means we need to make the change. If there were minor changes, then we would wait to the review and put them forward at that time.
Yeah, presentation of page 87. And we're going to do the following. If you look in the first section, ID and title, the narrative is identical to what cause and potential affecting quite a number of these. And that's bizarre, because it means if you're looking for the narrative, the title should be something punchy and gets you to the core of what's going on. I don't understand why it's been done that way. It's made me read stuff twice that I didn't really want to read. Right. Looking at the labour shortage environment amplifies the risk of a significant governance failure. No, I can't remember what that's about, sorry. I think that's probably me.
So I'm happy to move the paper. I think, again, from Partnership and Performance, it's been a really comprehensive, detailed paper. What I'm really encouraged to see within this, particularly from a scrutiny point of view, is that officers, when they're preparing the paper, don't shy away from the areas of improvement that are required. They let us be aware of that and for us to pick up on it. So, as well as giving the sort of good stories in terms of how things are going, we also see the areas where improvement is required, and that gives us real comfort as councillors that everybody's looking at that and looking to make those improvements moving forward. So I think that's why it's a really good and balanced paper for us from a scrutiny point of view. So just like to commend officers on a really detailed and valuable report for this committee. Thank you very much. And would you like to second?
I would second. Yes, in difficult times, it's laying it so bare, and I think the responses have been quite good. It's a very complex area, and there's a lot going on, resource constraints. We do what we can, and I give confidence to those who put in the time and the trouble to do the work.
Thank you. So now we're on to debate, and to debate the paper. Thank you very much. We're happy to accept the paper. Yeah. We're always delighted to know that I'm now going to call a comfort break for 10 minutes. Stretch your legs and feel like this is a long week so far.